Hey Scooby fans, in today's video we will be looking back on Scooby-Doo Music of the Vampire, the 17th in a series of direct-to-video films based on Hanna-Barbera's Scooby-Doo. Released on March 13, 2012, in this direct-to-DVD movie, the gang attend a vampire-themed festival during which a real vampire chooses Daphne as his bride, which will make more sense later in the video. This movie definitely stands out from the other Scooby-Doo movies of the time because of it being a musical, and not just any musical, a romantic musical, unlike the Scooby-Doo Goes Hollywood of the past. So today we'll be looking back on this movie to analyze what makes it so unique, but not a very popular one in the franchise. So sit back and enjoy the symphony and sound of Scooby-Doo Music of the Vampire.
I don't want no dragons or freaks, and no crazy evil sprites. I don't want no phantom that shrieks, haunting us every night.
Our movie begins with Tully, voiced by Jim Cummings of Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island fame, singing a song about the bayou, which is a fine song, nothing special, but the backing track is really nice.
And the spirit flows adrift on the bayou breeze.
Tully talks straight to us, the audience, or maybe just someone off screen, but it's fun to assume that it's a fourth wall break. He tells a story about a crown he found in the swamp that came from an unwilling vampire bride and a talking dog?
And then came a talking dog. Whoop! I done almost spoiled the ending. We got to start at the beginning, shall
we? Get an insane transformation like in the Camp Scare movie video, check that one out, where we see the gang investigating the sewers under a factory to capture the cockroach monster. When Shaggy and Scooby think they found the real monster, Fred accidentally trips in his own trap just when the real cockroach monster shows up and attacks the gang. Velma thinks fast and uses the pipes to capture him, and while she does her wrap up, she realizes that no one else in the gang are listening to her.
Guys?
Velma realizes that the gang need a vacation, and so our movie really begins with the gang going on vacation and heading somewhere new.
We're finally on vacation and going someplace new. Relaxation is all we're gonna do.
After our next and really catchy song, Done with Monsters, where we see everyone in the gang singing together for the first time, and they do their best. Daphne and Fred's voice actors really gave it their all, and I appreciate it being a music guy myself, but you know, besides it being catchy, it's not the best. The gang finally make it to their location, which is a small, quote, little bat town in Louisiana, which conveniently is hosting a vampire-themed festival, which doesn't make Shaggy and Scooby very happy, but the others assure them that vampires aren't real and are just supposed to be for romantic novels or whatever. Before they enter, Shaggy signs a anti-vampire protest ran by Jesper Poubelle.
Sign a petition to ban vampires?
Like, that's a cause we can support.
Here, there be demons.
Here, there also be corn dogs.
Upon entering, Letta Rotlin, the festival's organizer, lets them in, and the gang make their way over to Vincent Van Helsing, their host and foremost expert on all things vampiric, and an unsuccessful author of vampire books. He takes them to see his vampire museum, which is amazing. Like, why does no one go here? There are like actual just statues of vampires, a book of vampires, giant steaks. No, not the food. Why doesn't anyone go there? Like, Van Helsing shows the gang a set of vampire wedding jewelry, but the real jewel in his collection is a glass-faced casket holding the body of Valdronia, a vampire king, with glowing green eyes that scares Shaggy and Scooby, with the gang not noticing. Just like kind of the same thing in Haunted House Hang Up, where the painting loses its head and the gang never noticed that. Kind of a little thing. It's a little thing there. But before the gang try to figure out what's happening, they have to leave and catch the show performed by fang-tastic, a traveling group of vampire singers. Not real, of course. Vampires. No, not those that only perform at night.
Whoa, you can't bring garlic in here. No wooden stakes, garlic, or flash photography.
After the introduction song, The Vampires Dance, performed by Bram, the hotshot vampire voiced by Christian Campbell, an actual musician. After a song is done, they come back out again to attempt an actual vampire resurrection chant, which seemingly works as the disgusting looking Valdronia appears in a crazy scene, and wow is he tall. Like, I think he's way past 6 foot, okay? And he's single too, so, you know, just saying, if you're into that. Valdronia turns into a bat and flies away, prey to the crowd's excitement as they think it was all just part of the show. After the show, Van Helsing lays into the vampire actors and he tells them what a terrible horror they just summoned.
That resurrection chant was from the ancient book of vampire. Where on earth did you learn it?
The internet?
The gang talked to the guy who was supposed to come out during the chant as the actor for Valdronia. He tells the gang that he got hit with some spell and got knocked out somehow, which gets Velma thinking, while Daphne and Bram meet for the first time and flirt with each other, much to Fred's jealousy. And holy crap, that zoom is uncomfortable, bruh. And so the gang offer to investigate and quickly leave the theater and head back to the museum. At the museum, they see that Valdronia really did leave the tomb, and they find the tomb empty, but still sealed. As they think about what's happening, they're crashed in a room and suddenly the vampire jewels are gone. Valdronia flies down into the museum and goes to take a good look at Daphne. While in this uncomfortable scene, Daphne seems to be under some spell and Valdronia says Daphne would be a good bride for him. Just then, the rest of the gang threaten to attack him with wooden stakes, so he flies away. In Van Helsing's house the next day, the gang talked to Daniel, a night guard they found the day prior who seemed to be bitten by the vampire, but it turns out he accidentally tased himself, with Fred knowing a lot about that from his police training. Yep, that never comes back in the franchise, but it's cool to know, I guess. Back at the festival, the news reporters are talking to Mr. Poubelle, who gets exposure benefits for his anti-vampire crusade, while Mrs. Rutland and Bram discuss how all the news about this whole vampire attack came out.
Looks like someone spilled the beans about our escaped vampire.
But the audience thought it was all part of the show. I hope you're not implying my performers.
I leaked it.
Which I guess there is no such thing as bad publicity, because Mrs. Rutland breaks into song to get attention of the news crew, thinks he was attacked. In our next song, The Vampire's Bite.
We take MasterCard, Visa, and Chase, not Discover. We're open till 9 every night. Not on Sunday.
The next day, Van Helsing gets a sale on his book. The gang suspect Poubelle as being behind this, so they make a plan to sneak into his trailer to search for clues. Daphne and Fred find that he plans to run for mayor, which is why he's getting people on his side now with his anti-vampire organization, so when he runs for mayor, everyone will be on his side. The gang get caught by security and quickly make an escape in the Mystery Machine, evading the law, I see. As the gang are driving off into the darkness, all of a sudden the Mystery Machine's sunroof gets ripped open as Valdronia jump scares the gang and grabs Daphne through the sunroof, and Daphne rips a piece of his fabric from his sleeve, and Velma forces him off the top of the car by running through a very low tunnel as the gang head back to the festival. Speaking of which, at the festival, Poubelle enters with a gang of vampire hunters deputized by the sheriff who resembles Don Knotts' Bernie Fife from the Andy Griffith Show, who enforced a dusk to dawn curfew that angers Rutland, but there's nothing she can do about it. Daphne and Velma can't believe people would fall for all of this vampire stuff when Fred shows up.
They say there's a fraidy cat born every minute.
Ah, there you are. I got us all neck protectors.
Shaggy and Scooby are looking for the food court, but get lost and wind up running into Bram and his fellow actors, who are acting very different, and they try to take Shaggy and Scooby hostage, but they quickly make their way back to the festival grounds where they hide only to find, you guessed it, Valdronia. And we get the classic Scooby-Doo door chase scene with a hip granny for some reason. Why is she dressed like that? It's actually so funny. After that, Shaggy thinks he got bit when Valdronia threw a wooden stake at him. They both end up covered in ketchup, and they get spotted by Poubelle, who declares them as vampires, and Shaggy and Scooby get chased into the woods where they hide in a tree for safety from the raging mob. Shaggy thinks that he's turning into a vampire as he gets attached to Scooby's neck, ready to bite, in such a weird scene where he zooms in on Scooby's neck like he has a scope on him, and it's just, I don't know, it's weird. So for the safety of Scooby, Shaggy tells him to leave, to just leave, in a very heartfelt scene, but Scooby won't do it, and they both cry and sing Scooby and Me, which could have been the best song if it wasn't for the part where all the other characters join in. Scooby and Me is definitely why this movie is remembered at all, which definitely reminds me of Scooby-Doo Goes Hollywood in some ways.
Referees, there were a pair, Scooby and me.
Star in a movie, we'll be on TV. Millions of people just looking at me.
Meanwhile, the gang are at Van Helsing's house and are doubting that the vampire is real, as Daphne points out the piece of cloth that she took from the vampire is new, not thousands of years old.
Girlfriend knows her fabric.
And Van Helsing explains that he made a new set of clothes for Valdronia because most of the original clothes disintegrated. Daphne decides to go investigate the actors, or just Bram if you're going to be real about this. Once Daphne gets to the theater, she comes across a movie projector and Bram, of course. And this is when things start heating up as Bram starts going into the song, "Do You Want to Live Forever?" And while him and Daphne dance on the stage and fly around the theater, he asks if she wants to live forever.
I'm gonna have to say thanks, but no. Points for trying, though.
This makes us very unhappy.
Us?
And so Daphne gets kidnapped by the actors to become the bride of the vampire. Meanwhile, it's morning time for Shaggy and Scooby, as it seems they slept outside in the woods as castaway vampires. They make their way over to a strange shack where we finally get to meet Tully, the guy from the intro of the movie, and he shares his special gumbo and tells them a little about himself. Tully here is an inventor whose prototype flying shoes were stolen by, get this, a vampire. Why does a vampire need flying shoes? Back at the house, Van Helsing explains that if Valdronia marries and steals the soul of a woman who is pure of heart, not Velma, his powers will become much greater, and that the marriage must take place at midnight. Just then, Fred gets a text from Daphne that she has been kidnapped to be the vampire's bride. So Fred arms himself with a stake shooting gun, and they all head to the swamp to find Daphne. When they get close to where Daphne is, Van Helsing gets attacked by the vampire in a really frightening scene of him being dragged into the marsh. When Fred shoots in that direction, he gets Shaggy and Scooby instead of the vampire. And the gang talk to them and get them up to date on what's happening. We see that the actors have tied Daphne up and they tell her that they will gain immortality from doing this. And so they put the vampire jewels on Daphne and start singing to get Valdronia to come out of the water to meet his bride. Just when he's about to get Daphne, Shaggy and Scooby start distracting Valdronia with a camera and get him to chase them, while Daphne and the actors are jaded from Valdronia's spell. And wow, does Valdronia give a good chase scene. While Shaggy and Scooby are making the exit on a boat, Valdronia is literally shooting balls of fire at them. Talk about cool effects. Shaggy accidentally turns on the propelling fan, which takes Valdronia's costume off, and we see that he's definitely not a vampire after all. Finally, our gang capture a vampire who turns out to be Van Helsing, who decided to come up with the legend to gain publicity for his museum. So he came up with the most insane special effects and costume, even though he was broke. Okay, and so the actors in Van Helsing get taken away, and our movie ends with a continuation of the first song of the movie.
The Helsing team is done with all his vampire spooks.
And now it's time to run.
No demonic beasts.
Ain't nothing to see.
It's time to relax, and that's what we're gonna do.
And that's Scooby-Doo Music of the Vampire. What a movie. This one will be forever near and dear to my heart, as it was one of the first Scooby-Doo movies I had as a kid, and I loved the songs back then. Nowadays, they're still catchy, but not good. And I know most people probably have never even heard or seen this movie, but I definitely recommend it. So much happens in this movie that you won't be disappointed, and the characters and atmosphere are really nice, and the animation is just really good for the chase scenes. But like, I don't understand why people put this one so low on their list of Scooby-Doo movies. I don't know really. I still need to watch each one in order to really give my like raw thoughts on everything. But hey, it is the first time all of the gang break into song in the franchise, if we don't include Scooby-Doo Goes Hollywood again, which we will see on the channel soon. But anyways, what do you think of this movie? Have you watched it recently? What do you think of the characters, the atmosphere, and the songs? Let me know everything in the comments below, and other than that, consider joining this cartoon community by subscribing to the channel. And that's it for today's video. See ya!
Listen to me.
You can't do this to me.
Doesn't anyone see?
Why this happened to me? It's always going to be Scooby and me.
Great.